right there. All right, welcome to the show.
That
We'll just
Thank you very much, Helen.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, welcome. This is Daley Baker. Daley Baker is my guest co-host. Feel free to ask any questions. You don't know anything about this man.
No.
Mihai Dinulescu is the founder of Sonzia, and the way that you're creating this new media art with big touch screens. He set it up. There have been a number of installations at various locations throughout Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that. I'm really interested to hear more about this.
Yeah, so I've been an installation artist for, I don't know, at this point, probably around 10 years. So we did the giant bridge installation in Waltham spanning the Charles River for about 220 feet. We also were able to do the Boston Public Library for first night, along with Zebler, who you mentioned earlier.
Yes, Zebler. They're on tour in China right now. He and Ben are like just popping it off.
They're absolutely amazing, and it was really cool, especially back then because it was right after the 2013 bombing of the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
And what you saw there was somebody who had ended up on television, national media for a fake bomb scare.
Yes, Operation Hunger Force. Yes, it was found under the bridge, this device, and a SWAT team was called in, and they took it as not very lightly. And he was thrown in front of the media and cameras, and he really dealt with it so well.
Well, they
great lawyer.
Very much were interested in haircuts from the 70s.
Yeah, they were.
I think that was a very interesting time for Boston, and having the opportunity, because I didn't get to do anything. I'm a pure producer. I don't really create the content or the actual art, but to be able to get in front of the city in Boston and really get them to understand the difference 7 years later between fake bombs and real ones, and this idea of communication as violence and versus.
You got a caller.
You can keep talking.
That's not me.
We're not taking live calls tonight, folks. What'd I tell you? No, keep talking.
They always come.
They always do. It's a popular show.
Basically, that difference between real violence and speech, because I feel a lot of people in this country, particularly today, with the protests that have been going on and the responses that we've seen from the administration are really starting to skirt that difference again between what is speech and what is violence, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting project to be involved in, and it's like she said, we did a couple of giant art installations. We created a 14-foot touchscreen that we put up at Aeronaut, which was really fun. So we had people doing big proteomic research on there, just sort of moving proteins around and being able to share and contribute their work with others. It was a really interesting opportunity to see, particularly for people with disabilities or people with vision issues, canvas that they could really explore. And we've been doing a lot of, when I say me, it used to be a formal organization run out of Artisans Asylum, SEMI, a couple years ago. And in the meantime, it's sort of become this decentralized thing of just friends and neighbors, and this is a small town, and I think after, like you guys will agree, after working here for a couple of years, everyone just sort of starts to get to know you, and it's a pretty small world, right?
It is. Definitely. It is. Are you working on any big projects coming up? Any plans for any more installations?
Yeah, we're thinking of bringing out the Lightbridge LEDs again and starting to float a couple of ideas around the city. There's a couple of really phenomenal organizations that I've been talking to who we have some proposals active. I'm not going to say any names now until anything's moved forward, but the LEDs are fairly cheap, and creating things from acrylic, creating things from plastics that are very conductive to light, but also friendly to anyone with a Dremel that wants to be able to draw and really create a sculpture that can stay outside, that can be dynamic, and that really can express a talent without having the need for a very inaccessible craft.
Yeah.
Right, you can take a piece of Dremel and a $5 square of acrylic that's matte, and all of a sudden you have a color reactive and dynamic painting, right? That you're drawing with $100 pen. Like it's not rocket science. And I think a lot of what's happened in this community over the last 4 or 5 years, starting with the rise of Artisans Asylum, the maker movement, and a lot of the technological art that really had the seeds planted decades ago. I mean, you have Harvard, you have MIT, you have a bunch of technology and really smart young people and resources. So this is in LA, this is in New York. The art you're going to see in Boston and they think is really world class and something completely different. It's going to be based on technology.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that's happening at the Media Lab and it's wild. I just ran into Sarah Miller, who's the new board president over at Artisans Asylum. And Fallon's Daily Toast is going to be going over there. We're going to do a week of push and just kind of, it is so dynamic. And I just find I want to know more and I want my audience to know more about what's going on in there. So talk about your connection with that.
La La Land.
La La Land, right. So talk a little bit about that. How is there a connection there with you in that?
So we used to live literally down the street, a couple blocks away. Myself, Damien Chazelle, who directed the movie, and right down the street from us was Justin Hurwitz, who wrote the score for La La Land and Whiplash, and we built a little kind of production infrastructure in 2007 to 2008, making Guy and Madeline on a park bench. And that was, I think, the first feature musical in Harvard history. We were all students at the time, so we kind of made it as a student movie, but we spent 2 years on it. We hired the Orchestra of Bratislava to do the score, and we just generally had resources that we were willing to build up over time. Because normally you sort of plan a movie, you shoot it in a month or two at most, and then you edit for the rest of the time and do all your post. What we did is we just would raise money and keep shooting. So at one point I remember we ended up with a stack about this tall of just 16 millimeter rolls of film that we didn't have the money to develop because they cost about 120 bucks to develop per roll, 115 to purchase. So we were just like, well, let's spend the rest of the money that we get just buying more rolls, and eventually we'll develop them, and maybe after that, it won't be terrible, and then we'll be able to edit it, and won't need to reshoot too much. So but after 2 years of doing that, we ended up with a, if I can say so, pretty good feature. We were named the best indie movie of the year by a Filmmaker magazine. We came out at Tribeca. We won the Torino Film Festival, and we came out theatrically after a year and something of the festival circuit. And just for everyone that might want to go into film, like between this, getting out in a festival and actually getting distribution is a pretty wide distance. When we came out at Tribeca, we had the Boston Globe ran this cover story about us, and it was like, distribution is forthcoming, and we're like, great, because we didn't know that. We're just like, awesome, no one told us, but hopefully whoever they talk to will also call us and tell us that they're distributing our movie. They made it up, and then a year and a half later, finally some tiny distribution company that we, tiny compared to Fox, they were very big for our standards, variance films, picked us up, and we actually managed to make them a little bit of money, not a lot, but for indie film, it was nice to see something for a couple years of work. But I stayed here after that, and that's how I got into installation art, because there's not necessarily a lot of film happening in Boston. I worked a bit with Matt Martino on a film he did.
Yes, right. Chainsaw Maidens from Hell.
Yes. We were trying to make it the cheapest 3D movie ever made, under like $250,000. We ended up getting an article in Forbes because of that.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Wow. Yeah, it was fun. But we didn't end up making it in 3D, and that's
He's opening. Matthew Martino just bought that old liquor store over on Broadway, and he's turning it into an actual production facility, really like tightly like sound rooms and all the bells and whistles. And he's going to be doing his monthly Arts at the Armory. Oh no, it's at Art Farm. It's the big Halloween show that he puts on every year. He's asked Fallon's Daily Toast to go live from the spooky corners of Art Farm over there.
Nice.
That's exciting. Yeah. So what do you think about all the development that's happening here in Somerville? Are you excited to be here while there's this boom?
Well, I think a lot of what's happening in Somerville is inaccessible to a lot of Somervillians. I mean, in terms of, you're talking about the property that Matt bought, I think that's an anomaly in this town in this day and age. We're seeing a lot of stuff like the Assembly Row developments that are pricing everyone out of the neighborhood, and that that includes the price of dingy warehouse space. Like we, a couple friends of mine, I had a space over near Artisans, and it was about $5,000 a month for 1,000 square feet of windowless warehouse space. Like,
it's absurd. It's a shame. You see a lot of people being pushed out. You know, we only have 2 minutes, and I want to continue this conversation. For those at home that are tuning in, we'll have both of these guests on again. I'd love to further these discussions because they are so important and affecting all of us every day. And the economics of living here can be quite complex, and it's something I want to know more about.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work with cryptocurrencies and alternative funding strategies, and now you're starting to see a lot of international investment vehicles that are becoming available, including for real estate. But also, to your point about international investments here, so not only is it becoming easier to invest internationally in real estate, but I think there's absolutely no protections.
Yeah, protections, right.
For cities like Madrid, for example, if you're going to buy an apartment there and not live there, right, investment properties carry enormous tax burdens. And that tends to keep a city's real estate by and for the people in that city. I don't know of any cities in America that have that particular level of protection, and I think, there's
usually advantages here.
Yeah, well, that's good. So let's create some protections. All right, folks. For those of you tuning in that have the powers to the forces.
Celine Dion,
if you're watching, protect us, okay?
Yes.
We don't want to be priced out of our nice little community because it is so tight. Everyone comes together. There's a lot of stuff happening here, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to live here and to be around so many innovative and supportive people. So for those tuning in that want to know a little bit more, Daley Baker, you can find him online. You can go to The Stand on Facebook. There's a website. Tune in. It's a web series on YouTube. Mihai, if you're looking to get in touch, you can shoot me an email, Fallon's Daily Toast, and I'll shoot him an email. Or how else can they find you?
That's about it.
Cool, that's what I think.
That'll work out.
Good. So much love to all of you. Thanks again for tuning in to Fallon's Daily Toast.
¿Y qué pasó?